Welcome to Seven Rivers Sports. I'm your host, Terry Erickson. Each week, an inside look into sports, wellness, fitness. Today, we continue the road to high school preview football. Aquinas Blue Goals, the spotlight today with head coach Tom Lee, along with Jack Horihan, Conley, Malone. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
As we tape the show, we're in mid-August. Training camp is winding down, getting ready for the first game, Coach. Talk a little bit about progress. Talk a little bit about your scrimmage. Talk about your thoughts leading up to your first game against Sparta.
You know what? I think there's always a lot of anticipation and nervous energy probably that every coach has waiting to just get things going. And kind of probably like any program, it's a little bit like eating an elephant. You got to just do it one bite at a time and take a little step here every day, and we're looking for that progress. And some days, we take a lot of bites, and some days it seems like we're gagging on a couple of bites. But the boys have done a nice job. We're offensively making nice progress. Defense, we think we've got a couple things that we got to shore up that we saw in the scrimmage. And if we can take care of those, we'll be all right.
So many bright spots in the scrimmage and some concerns that you need to address before Sparta. I was down there working that scrimmage. I felt somewhat the same way, but I saw a lot of really bright spots too. Real quickly, you started practice August 1st.
Right.
Numbers, not just at Aquinas now, numbers in a country, according to an article I read just this week, down drastically.
I saw that.
For two reasons. One, concussion issues. We all know that. Mm-hmm. But the other one, August 1st. Come on. In my view, starting the season too early. You have a month. You have 3 games before the beginning of school for most schools. You give up a third of your summer. I think throughout the state of Wisconsin, we start too early.
Well, you know what, Terry? The thing that they did is a couple of years back, they wanted to get rid of the end of the season because you would play on a Thursday and then on a Tuesday and then on a Saturday. So your last regular season game, week 9, would be Thursday. And you turn around, play a Tuesday, and then play again on a Friday or Saturday. And that's a lot of football. So I think wisely what they did is said, well, we got to have a week between games. The issue is Camp Randall's available here. Here's when Thanksgiving is, so we need it the Thursday and Friday before Thanksgiving. And they started working backwards from there. And so this year, actually, the season was slated to start in July. And they said, no, we can't have football in July. So usually your week 1, day 1 is Monday equipment handout, and you can speed and strength test, which we do with the boys. This time they said, you can't have that Monday, so we'll start on Tuesday, so we're still starting in August. So next year, the way this calendar falls, is August 1 will be on a Wednesday. So you're kind of short 2 days of your typical football coach week. And us football coaches, we get to be creatures of habit, and it's hard to break out of those.
Exactly.
So you know what, Terry, I think either you have to move this state championship game back later, or you got to figure out something to do with the regular season game-wise and number-wise in games. So that's, or else you'll keep running into this problem.
Yeah, I know it's a factor of many different pieces to the puzzle. Jack Horihan, a senior. Counting on you now, my friend. A senior, that's the leadership has to come along with the grade level. Offense, defensive line, you and Bryce Lee and others are kind of the Marine Corps, the Navy SEALs. You got the Air Force, the Army, and the Navy, and so on. But the Marine Corps, the basis to our service groups and the basis to a successful blue gold season starts and ends with that offensive line, protecting the guy next to me. But talk about your progress, your thoughts in training camp.
Well, like, I've progressed a long, long way ever since, especially since freshman year, like coming to here, like going to lifting in the summer, and then also like doing the blue gold scrimmage days. I believe I have grown a lot better physically and mentally to where I think I could be like a really good lineman this year.
I have no doubt about it. I'm sure our viewers can see on tape that you have the build to be a successful lineman. Because your job, is to protect the guy next to me who was hurt last year. And of course, that's Conley Malone.
Unfortunately.
And we all know that because his picture was in the front page of the paper this week. And the hope, a reason for hope is partly because of you playing quarterback. What do you think of that?
It's always a good feeling to be like the centerpiece of it, but there's obviously a lot more that has to do with just me. I mean, we can't do it without the line and all of our skill position players and all that kind of stuff. Like, yeah, I got to step up quite a bit from last year. Got to stay healthy, but it all starts up front with Jack.
It does start up front. And, of course, Bryce Lee is a big part of that, too, Coach's son. But real quickly, let's not minimize here the importance of the fact that quarterback is the key. There's no question about it. The reads, all the different components that go through, there's a guy in Green Bay. You know what his name is, of course. And it goes through him, and it goes through Conley Malone, no question about it. Is that something that is an anxiety issue with you?
Not so much. I feel like I've played enough sports in high enough competitions that I think the spotlight doesn't really faze me as much as it may for people who are inexperienced. Playing quarterback is obviously a different position, like wide receiver. Like, you get the ball every single play, so a lot more is expected, but I'm looking forward to that.
You know, I heard your interview, Coach, on the radio, and we're not going to really go back much to last year because that's not what this show is all about. And you don't live life looking in the rear-view mirror, so to speak. But one thing that always impressed me about you, and I'm not going to embarrass you or try to catch you off guard, but there's in the book of Ephesians, the Apostle Paul talks about not putting any unwholesome things in your mind or in your speech for listeners to hear. What's that got to do with coaching? It's got a lot to do with it, because even though you didn't have the success you wanted last year, you never got down on your kids. You made mistakes and you didn't have the numbers and so on. That's behind us. But you're a bucket filler. You don't take a dipper. You're a filler, and that's what I admire about you. And that's, I think, the key to being a successful coach.
Well, thanks, Terry. That's very kind. You know, we talk all the time, control the controllables. There are certain things that are within our control. Showing up on time, lining up in the right spot, knowing your assignment, communicate. You know, those are all things you can control. If the Aquinas Blue Golds or the Kimberly Papermakers are going to go out and across from them is the New England Patriots, they can't control the New England Patriots, and we can't control the New England Patriots. So all we can do is handle ourselves. And that's been a big focus for us kind of always since I've been a part of this program. Just handle what you can handle, control what you can control, and don't worry about the other stuff because you only got so much energy in your body.
You're changing the offense a little bit to more read options and to utilize the skills of Conley Malone, and it puts more pressure on the quarterback and on the play calls too, by the way, to properly read that. How do you like the change in the offensive style?
It's gone really well so far. We still have lots of the components from last season. Like, we're still spreading it out, looking to pass, but we also incorporate in, like you said, the RPO type stuff. So it's nice because I have the option of either being able to, hand it off or pull it like whenever I want, or we can do other stuff, kind of like audible type stuff out of the things. So there's just lots of different options that we can explore.
So really, it's spontaneity. It's reads. It's an extemporaneous kind of thing where you have to make that decision.
Yeah.
And it puts pressure on everybody because everybody needs to be on the same page. But Jack Horihan, it puts pressure on you too because you need to understand run, pass, and you got to protect, and a lot of it, again, we talked earlier, but you got to know the system too. Is that difficult?
Kind of like knowing what plays, what kind of blocks you have, but especially practicing them many times during a day. As Coach says, you need to. It tends to be where you stop thinking about it and you just react to it. Like you you hear a call and then you just do whatever blocking it is.
So it's got to be instinctive, right, Coach?
Yeah, and you know what? I think the nice thing about it, our offense coordinator is Steve Kramer, and he's really good. He had a lot of success as a head coach at Seneca, and then he was at La Crescent, and I kind of lucked into having him, and he came along right at the time when we had an opening. And kind of the nice thing about this offense, this RPO run-pass option, you know, the fat guys, that's an affectionate term, by the way, are running a run play. They're run blocking. And it's up to the guy that's, you know, got the ball in his hands to say, okay, if we got the right numbers here, we're going to do this. If not, we got an option on the outside to throw a bubble screen or to throw a speed out or to throw a fade. So it doesn't change a lot for them, but we always talk as coaches, when you sit down at X and O, the guy with the pen last always wins. You know, well, then my X does that. We think, and people who run this RPO stuff think, that the offensive coordinator always has the pen in his hand last because they've always got an answer.
So I think we're taking a little bit of a John Gruden show because he talks a lot about some of the same stuff. Well, we're going to step aside just for a second when we come back more on Blue Gold Football right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Today, the spotlight on the Aquinas Blue Gold football team. Head coach Tom Lee, along with Jack Horihan, and fellow senior Conley Malone. Coach, I know you as a friend, too, and I know besides being an excellent coach, a dedicated teacher, I know your family extremely well, and you don't shortchange any of those things besides coaching, do you?
I'd hope not. We talk a lot about priorities, and I always tell the boys, for them, it needs to be God and family, and then school, and then football, and then everything else. For me, it's God and family, and then school, which is my work, and then football, and then kind of everything else. So I shortchange everything else, which sometimes means I don't get as much sleep as I should, and I lose 15 pounds during the season because I don't get to work out like I wanna. But as long as I got the other three things there, I think I'm okay. So, and I got a good home team.
You do?
The home team, you got to have a good home team, and I got a good one of those.
You have a good home team, and despite the fact that you don't have time to work out, your wife does.
Yeah, so personal trip.
I see her occasionally. So, well, Jack Horihan, again, a senior National Honor Society wrestling captain. Academic all-conference. I mean, you blend it all together, and you're a proud blue gold student, aren't you? And you put your priorities in place.
Heck yeah.
Is that hard?
Yeah. Especially like freshman year, like doing like football, wrestling, and track, and then trying to keep my grade point like above 3.5. But as the years got on, it got like easier, and I have like football and wrestling and track to thank because it built up my mental toughness, which makes everything else easier.
The mental is to the physical as 4 is to 1. Mental 4 times more important than physicality. Fast forward, you don't want to rush through your senior year, but next year, where are you going to be?
I'm thinking a lot of places, but the main one I'm probably thinking is UW-Platteville.
And a few years from graduation from UW-Platteville, you're going to be a successful...
I'm looking into civil engineering.
Oh, so you have to be a pretty sharp student to pursue that. Speaking of sharp students, I think there's one next to me, too. Honor Society, all academic, national impact, and something that caught my attention, and I know our viewers too, global concerns. Now, I have global concerns with water, with food supply, with a guy in North Korea. I have a problem with food supply and the quality of all the things in this world. And do you talk about those things with global concerns?
A little bit. It's more of like a focus on what we can do to help like those in need like globally. And just for an example, this last spring, it's led by Miss Harkness. She's a math teacher at Aquinas. And we raised money to send a couple livestock over to a country in Africa. So it's just kind of stuff like that, just like doing like the little things that we can.
So it's sort of tied to the mission of Aquinas, which is what?
Service, leadership.
How do you
faith.
Service, leadership? I know Viterbo is a big part of that too. How do you show, besides global initiatives and concerns, how do you demonstrate what the true mission of a Blue Gold is in your everyday life and on the field and on the court and so on?
That's a tough one. I guess it's just being everything that your parents, grandparents would want you to be, just putting others before yourself, and just being the best person you can.
And of course, that's part of the life lessons taught playing football under you, correct, Coach?
You'd hope so. In all sports that have teammates, you need to be selfless. But I think in football, maybe more than any other, you count on your teammates as much or more in that sport than anything else. And if it's just all about you, it's not going to be successful. So, we think that the lessons that this sport teaches are super important. And, I think maybe some of the most important lessons I learned that helped me out later in my life, now that I'm in my mid-40s, came from Jack Knuckles and Dave Reinders and Dan Coughlin when I was these guys' age and a little bit younger.
By the way, I remember you as an athlete then, and you were an excellent athlete.
You're lying now. I was very forgettable.
Oh, no, I do remember you. And I remember, well, of course, I knew all those coaches very well, and so on. Conley, let's make sure we mention this, because I don't know if a lot of people know that, of course they've seen you play basketball, but one of the defining moments in your high school career was track and field. Share that with our viewers.
Yes, track has been a focal point of high school so far. Making it to state for all my years in high school so far for track has been something I can't really describe, and it's all been relays, so it's also been a team sport, relying on each other. And yeah, that's some of the best memories I've had have come through track.
And your dad has been one person that's inspired you and encouraged you, hasn't he?
Yes.
How has he done that?
He's just such a good guy. I feel like he's definitely like a role model that people should look up to. I know I do. Just the way he handles himself, the way he puts his family, his faith, everything first before himself. I feel like it's all something that we can take after.
And when you graduate, what are your plans?
I'm not exactly sure what school I'd like to go to. I'm leaning towards UW-Madison right now, but there's still room to change.
And then perhaps follow in your dad's footsteps in the health field?
He's more of like the business part in the health field, but yeah, I think I'm looking for something in the health field, yes.
Besides the defining moments, and of course you had a good basketball season too, and we wish you the best in football, and you need to stay healthy, of course.
Yes.
But what do we find you doing when you're not studying, and what are some of the hobbies you like to be involved in?
Just like any other high schooler, I guess, just hanging out with teammates and friends, and then we have a boat that I like to go fishing, water skiing, that kind of stuff on. Just good stuff to pass some time.
And Jack, too, what do you do on a day when you don't have all these other obligations?
Well, if I haven't worked out in a while, I'll do that. Or if I have like something like helping my parents like clean and do chores and stuff. If I don't have anything else, then I will go watch YouTube videos or occasionally play video games.
YouTube videos? I mean, you might watch some replays of YouTube on Seven River Sports.
Maybe.
Because those are on there too.
Millions of hits.
Exactly. That's right. So, Coach, when you look at the season again, you start with Prairie du Chien, then Stevens Point, and end with Logan on October 13th. Everybody has high expectations. Realistically, where do you want to be?
Man, we just want to keep building and keep growing. One of our big struggles last year was we had a small junior class and a small senior class. The juniors are now these seniors, but we got a nice number of current juniors and a nice number of softs, and we just want to make sure that those guys take the experience that they got and really grow from it, and that's kind of what's exciting to us. I think offensively, we really want to be able to run the football more than we were able to a season ago. We were too much reliant on the pass.
And of course, that saves on the potential injuries to Mr. Conley right here too.
Right.
No question about it. As you look at this season too, Conley, besides wanting to stay healthy, do you have any personal goals?
Some like the main goals I feel like would be competing every single game, going against schools 3-4 times our size. We know we're not going in there as a favorite, but sometimes it's good that way. I mean, being the underdog, you really have nothing to lose. But we'll make it so that just every game that we play is competitive as possible, and then hopefully when we're playing schools our size like Prairie and Pacelli, that I feel like those are really winnable games.
So you could, I'm picking you to go 2-0, and then I think Sparta. I believe that's Sparta on Labor Day weekend. So, and they're of course rebuilding. So, 3-0, that might be a pretty good start.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be great.
That'd be tough.
So, define leadership in your view, Jack.
Leadership, well, like in one word, like service. Well, few words, like service to others, but kind of somewhat complex is like, well, serving others and being a great example for others to follow.
And you do that, but you also have a philosophy and a saying called being good. Being good is easier than not being good.
Well, I say that as, well, if you're just a great person, then people will like you, and it makes like everything else in life really easy.
And you don't have to apologize to anybody because you're good to everybody.
Yeah.
So, and that's part of learning from playing under Coach Lee. Favorite saying that you have?
My favorite saying? I'd say just, what I put down as optimism is key. This kind of came to my head. Just, no matter life throws anything at you, I feel like just the way you look at it is more important than anything else, no matter like what situation it is.
So the glass is half full rather than half empty.
Yeah.
Looking at things that way, and of course we talked earlier about that. That's the philosophy that you have, Tom. Well, again, priorities and looking at having a successful season. One key thing that you're going to need in order to have a successful season?
All hands on deck. We're going to need everybody available because we don't have much depth. And if we start losing bodies, it makes it pretty tough. So if we can keep guys upright and we take care of them in practice, I mean, we get our work in, but we don't beat them up. We got to keep guys upright.
And of course, as we close the show, that's the evolution of the game in recent years is not having as much contact as perhaps in your earlier career when you were a player, or when I was a player, because contact every day was unbelievable. And now people, wise coaches and good programs don't do that anymore.
Yeah, you know what? I think any coach that is, cares about their kids and cares about their program is going to make sure that they're not beating them up in Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday and Thursday, because you get plenty beat up on Friday.
Exactly, and even at the pro level, you're seeing much more of that. Well, again, our guest today, Aquinas head coach Tom Lee, along with Jack Horihan, Conley, Malone. Wish you the best this season. We'll be broadcasting several of your games. Stay healthy. Enjoy the season. It'll be special, and good luck to you, and thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
All right. We'll be back with some clips of this week's games right after this.
At Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, we have assembled a championship team
who listens to what your needs are.
We install carrier comfort systems that improve the comfort, efficiency, and the air quality of your home and workplace.
We serve you with highly trained technicians who are prompt, friendly, and honest.
For Gold Star treatment, turn to the experts, Carrier and Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning.
Schneider Heating and Air Conditioning, your comfort is our business.
Welcome back to Seven Rivers Sports. Well, 2 games this week. Let's start at Sparta, the MVC opener with the Aquinas Blue Goals in town. The game started with a bang as junior speedster Nick Church took the opening kickoff 83 yards to the house. And with a Bruce Edwards PAT, it was 7-0 Sparta. Then a short time later, quarterback Cole Wisniewski on a 1-yard run Before the first quarter ended, Edwards connected on a 32-yard field goal. 16-0 Spartans after one. Wisniewski scored again in the second quarter on a 4-yard run, so at intermission, Sparta had 23-0. Sparta's offense continued to roll in the third quarter as quarterback Wisniewski scored twice on 19 and 26-yard runs. The sophomore quarterback had a stellar all-around performance with 4 TDs and 140 yards. Aquinas sophomore Jess Sundell rushed for 56 yards while Brandon Murfeld caught 8 passes for 77 yards. Final score, Sparta 37, Aquinas 0. Sparta moves to 3-0 and travels to Logan on Friday, while Aquinas falls to 0-3 and will host Onalaska on Friday at Roger Herring Field, and we'll be there to bring you that game. Dan Diker and I were in Onalaska for a classic MVC rivalry with the Holmen Vikings. The fans were treated to an offensive display of area talent as a total of 85 points lit up the scoreboard. It all started with Onalaska's first possession as Noah Skifton, a senior quarterback, raced 52 yards to pay dirt. The PAT courtesy of sophomore Nathan Lubinsky. Holmen would answer as quarterback Isaac Hanlon scored from 9 yards out. Scoring continued with the Vikings crossing the goal line 3 more times in the second quarter, all courtesy of senior running back Drew Becker. Skifton to Lubinsky, followed by Skifton again, a 24-yard run and a 28-23 Holmen lead at intermission. Holmen dominated the second half. Becker continued to torch the Hilltoppers' defense with runs of 53 and 4 yards. Sophomore Cameron Weber finished the scoring with an 18-yard run. Skifton hit Carter Melby for the only Onalaska score in the second half as the Vikings had 465 total yards, all on the ground. Final score, Holmen 56, Onalaska 29. Onalaska suffered its first loss and will have a chance to redeem itself in the win column at Aquinas on Friday. Holmen hosts Central on Friday in a key MVC matchup. Well, I'm your host, Terry Erickson, hoping that you will have an active and a healthy week ahead. Thanks for joining us here on Seven Rivers Sports.